The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift hit theaters in 2006 and flipped the whole franchise on its head. No warning, just pure chaos. What fans saw on screen was wild, but behind the scenes, way crazier than anyone expected. Today we're diving into 21 strange facts about this cult favorite, from casting choices that almost wrecked careers to a secret deal that somehow saved not one, but two major franchises. We're talking hidden cameos nobody noticed, filming that pushed the limits of what was even allowed, and a final bonus fact that proves this movie almost didn't exist in the first place. This gets messy fast, so get ready as we slide back into the archive. First up, something that still has fans squinting at their screens like, wait, what? Lucas Black was 23 years old when he stepped in to play 17-year-old Sean Boswell. And yeah, people noticed. The Alabama-born actor landed the role even though he looked way older, and as the franchise kept going, that age gap only got more obvious, almost distracting, like they didn't even try to hide it. When Lucas Black came back as Sean in Furious 7 in 2015, things got even more unbelievable. The story picks up right after Tokyo Drift like no time passed at all. But in real life, Black was already 32 years old, still playing the same high school senior. Producers pulled every trick they could think of, from careful wardrobe picks to sneaky camera angles trying to make him look younger, but viewers weren't buying it for a second. Black later laughed it off, but back then, people across Hollywood were definitely raising eyebrows at that casting choice. Still, his natural charm and that strong southern accent kept fans locked in, no matter how off the age looked on paper. Now here's where things get seriously interesting. One of the coolest hidden details in Tokyo Drift is sitting right in front of everyone, but most people missed it completely. During the dock scene where Sean is learning how to drift, two older fishermen are watching him struggle and throwing comments his way. One of them drops the line, "You call that drifting?" And it hits way harder once you know who he really is. That fisherman is Keiichi Tsuchiya, the real-life drift king himself. This is the guy who basically created drifting as we know it, and even inspired Initial D. As he once said, "When I was in junior high school, I watched the driving of Kunimitsu Takahashi and admired him." Director Justin Lin knew exactly what he was doing, putting a legend like that into the scene. And when Sean finally starts getting it right, Tsuchiya gives him a quiet nod and says, "Not bad." For real drift fans, that moment isn't small at all. It's like getting approval straight from the top, and that means everything. Keiichi Tsuchiya didn't just show up for a quick cameo either. He was actually the film's stunt coordinator, helping shape those drifting scenes into something that felt real and intense. Now here's a wild twist. Before Channing Tatum became a huge name, he was chasing the role of Sean Boswell, trying to step into that Drift King spotlight. Yeah, the same guy from Magic Mike once tried to take over Tokyo Drift, but things went completely off track during his audition, and he later called it the worst one he's ever had. In a 2016 interview with Jimmy Kimmel, Tatum admitted he mainly wanted the role just to go to Tokyo, but the audition turned into a total disaster. He forgot his lines, started sweating hard, froze up mid-performance, and then just stopped and walked out. It was that bad. Director Justin Lin later revealed something surprising though. Even with all that chaos, Tatum still made it into the top 3 choices for the role. That just shows how unpredictable casting can get sometimes. Of course, Lucas Black ended up landing the part, while Tatum quickly bounced back and found major success with Step Up not long after, so things worked out anyway. Now moving on, because this next one is seriously next level. Vin Diesel's cameo at the end of Tokyo Drift wasn't just thrown in for hype. It came from a calculated move that turned into one of the smartest deals Hollywood has ever seen. After sitting out Too Fast, Too Furious completely, Vin Diesel came back for Tokyo Drift, but not in the way anyone expected. He didn't just show up for a quick paycheck. He made a bold move that changed everything. Instead of taking his usual acting fee, Diesel had one condition: he wanted Universal to hand over the rights to the Riddick character. The studio didn't even push back, they agreed right away, not realizing how big that decision would become. Years later, Diesel called it one of the smartest deals ever made in Hollywood, and it's easy to see why. That short cameo at the end didn't just excite fans, it revived 2 major franchises at once. Fast and Furious, which the studio thought was done, and Riddick, which wasn't even on their radar anymore. That one decision put Diesel right back in control, and suddenly he was leading blockbuster films again for years to come. A few seconds on screen turned into a decade of dominance, and that's not something you see every day. If you're into these behind the scenes facts, hit that like button. It helps keep more of these stories coming your way. Now here's another twist that most people never saw coming. Han, one of the coolest characters in the franchise, didn't even start in Fast and Furious. Sung Kang first played him in Justin Lin's 2002 indie film Better Luck Tomorrow. a much darker story about Asian American high school students getting pulled into crime that spirals way out of control. When Justin Lin stepped in to direct Tokyo Drift, he pushed hard to bring Han into the story, but the studio wasn't fully convinced at first about giving that level of spotlight to an Asian American actor, so Lin showed them Better Luck Tomorrow. And that changed everything. There should be no flaws or weaving during drifting. Slide the car as thrilling as possible. After seeing Kang's performance, the studio couldn't deny it, and Han was officially brought into the franchise. Both Lin and Kang have made it clear too. This isn't a new version, it's the exact same Han, just stepping into a bigger world. That connection basically turns Better Luck Tomorrow into an unofficial prequel to the whole Fast and Furious world, and it adds a whole new layer to Han's character. Even his constant snacking in Tokyo Drift isn't random, it's actually a clever nod to his chain smoking in Better Luck Tomorrow, which Universal wouldn't allow in a PG-13 film. So instead of cigarettes, Han's always eating, same habit, just reworked to fit the rules. Now this next story sounds straight out of a movie, but it actually happened. Filming in Tokyo was a nightmare because Japan doesn't hand out standard film permits like Hollywood is used to. Justin Lin wanted real footage of Shibuya Crossing, one of the busiest intersections on the planet, packed with people at all hours. So instead of backing down, he went all in and filmed without permission, full guerrilla style. Cameras rolling, no approvals, just pure risk. And of course, it didn't take long before the police showed up ready to shut everything down and make arrests. But then something wild happened. A crew member Lin didn't even recognize stepped forward and claimed he was the director. Turns out Universal had quietly hired a fall guy, someone whose entire job was to take the blame if things went wrong and even spend a night in jail if needed. Lin had no idea this person even existed until that exact moment. The fall guy took the hit, spent the night locked up, and Lin walked away with the footage. That's a level of behind-the-scenes sacrifice you almost never hear about. Now here's another near miss that could have changed everything. Before Lucas Black or Channing Tatum were locked in, Justin Lin actually wanted Joseph Gordon-Levitt to play Sean Boswell. He even imagined the character as half Japanese and sat down with Gordon-Levitt Lichno to pitch the idea and break down his vision for the role. Universal executives shut that idea down fast. They were worried that Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who people mainly knew from the sitcom Third Rock from the Sun, didn't have what it takes to carry a big action movie like this. The studio wanted someone with a tougher, more action-ready image, no risks. After Gordon-Levitt was passed over and Channing Tatum's audition completely fell apart, Lucas Black stepped in and secured the role. Funny enough, Gordon-Levitt went on to star in massive hits like Inception and The Dark Knight Rises, proving those doubts didn't really hold up at all. It makes you wonder how different Tokyo Drift would have felt with a totally different lead. Now here's where things get destructive in the best way possible. The number of cars destroyed during Tokyo Drift is honestly insane. A total of 249 vehicles were wrecked, smashed, or completely totaled during filming, more than any Fast and Furious movie before it. The production team knew exactly what they were getting into, so they built multiple versions of every major car, fully expecting them to get destroyed during stunts. For the opening race alone, they made 11 copies of Sean's 1971 Monte Carlo, just to make sure they got every shot they needed. Toyo Tires stepped in and donated 4,000 tires for the film, and about half of them were burned through during production. Ray Engineering supplied 170 Volk racing wheels to keep everything moving. Pulling off that level of controlled chaos wasn't easy either. It took a full team working non-stop to manage all the crashes, repairs, and replacements. By the time filming finally wrapped, the amount of wrecked cars was unreal, like a full junkyard packed to the edge. Twisted metal everywhere, parts scattered, total chaos. But somehow one very special car managed to make it through untouched, and that leads straight into this next detail. The 1967 Ford Mustang Sean builds for the final race isn't just about looking cool, it actually represents something much deeper. It's not easy to pick one type of car I like for drifting. I prefer a Ford Mustang. That line hits different when you realize what's really under the hood. Instead of pure American muscle, that Mustang was hiding a Japanese Nissan RB26 engine, pulled straight from the wrecked Silvia S15. And this wasn't just for the story either. The production team built a real, fully working RB26 swap Mustang just for the film. The meaning behind it was clear. Sean, coming in as an outsider, had to adapt and respect Japanese car culture if he wanted to stand a chance. That engine swap alone took 2 full months to complete and pushed out around 500 horsepower, making it a serious machine. They used 6 Mustangs during filming, and somehow, against all odds, every single one survived without getting destroyed, which is almost shocking considering how many other cars didn't make it. The main hero car with the RB26 engine didn't disappear either. It was later sold and now sits mahfuz in the Olo Auto Museum in Chicago, standing as one of the most unique builds ever created for a Hollywood movie. Now shifting gears again, because Han's orange and black Mazda RX-7, it was already turning heads long before Tokyo Drift even hit theaters. That Veilside Fortune body kit on Han's RX-7 wasn't made for Tokyo Drift at all. It was already a full-on celebrity before the movie even touched it. Veilside originally built that car for the 2005 Tokyo Auto Salon, and it didn't just show up, it dominated the event and took home the Grand Prix award for best car and the entire show. Universal spotted it while scouting locations and instantly knew they had to have it, no hesitation. The car originally came in a deep dark red, but for the film they switched it up and repainted it with House of Colors Sunset Pearl Orange, giving it that unforgettable look everyone recognizes now. During production, they used 9 RX-7s in total, and like most cars in this movie, a lot of them didn't survive the chaos. By the end, only 2 were left standing. And their value? It skyrocketed over time. In July 2025, one of those surviving hero cars sold at auction for a massive $1.2 million, making it one of the most expensive Mazdas ever sold. That price just shows how much Tokyo Drift grew from a box office miss into a full-on cult classic. Now this next detail gets surprisingly complicated. Twinkie's wild Hulk-themed Volkswagen Touran wasn't just thrown together for laughs, it actually needed approval from Marvel before it could even appear on screen. Director Justin Lin pulled that Hulk van idea straight from something he loved growing up. He was a huge fan of the old Incredible Hulk TV series, especially a moment where the Hulk smashes his way out of a vehicle. He wanted to recreate that same energy on screen, but it wasn't as simple as just painting it on. Universal actually had to go directly to Marvel and negotiate for the rights to use that design. This was back in 2006, way before Disney owned Marvel, and long before the MCU took over everything, so this kind of crossover wasn't normal at all. Instead of risking legal trouble, they turned it into an official collaboration. Those massive fist and foot dents bursting through the van's panels weren't random either. They were custom designed and fully approved by Marvel themselves. And that van didn't just disappear after filming wrapped, it's now sitting on permanent display at Universal Studios Orlando, right next to the Incredible Hulk roller coaster, which feels way too perfect. The wild purple fuzzy interior is still inside too, untouched like a time capsule from the movie. Now here's a version of Tokyo Drift that almost happened, and it sounds completely different. The script we got wasn't the original plan at all. Writer Chris Morgan first pitched a story where Dominic Toretto was the main focus, heading to Tokyo to learn drifting while also getting pulled into a full-on murder mystery. Yeah, a totally different vibe, but Universal shut that down because they wanted a younger cast to pull in teenage audiences. They pushed hard for a high school setting, which is how Sean Boswell came into the picture. The murder storyline got completely dropped and replaced with the DK conflict instead. Looking back now, it's hard to even picture Dom as someone still learning the ropes, instead of the all-knowing leader he eventually became. Sometimes studio interference actually changes everything, and not always in a bad way. Even when it frustrates the people making the film, it can still push things in a direction that ends up working better in the long run. If you're still here and enjoying these behind the scenes details, consider subscribing. There's a lot more where this came from. Now here's a detail that blends 2 massive fandoms together in a way most people never caught. Han's full name, Han Solo, is actually a clever play on Han Solo from Star Wars. Sung Kang and Justin Lin both confirmed it was intentional, and it adds a whole extra layer to his character. The name isn't even supposed to be real either. It's more like an alias, which explains why official records barely have any info on him in later films. When Han showed up alive again in F9, the hashtag HanIsAlive exploded online and caused total confusion. Some Star Wars fans thought people were talking about Han Solo from The Force Awakens, and the internet just ran wild with it. Justin Lin always meant it as a tribute to the original Space Smuggler, and when you look at it, both characters have that same calm, effortless, cool energy. It's one of those hidden references that hits way harder once you notice it. Now here's a surprising one that flips expectations. Paul Walker didn't return for Tokyo Drift, but it wasn't his decision. Universal actually told him he was too old for the direction they wanted to go, which is wild considering how central he was to the franchise at that point. The studio was chasing a younger audience, no question about it. After Too Fast, Too Furious didn't hit the numbers they expected, executives felt Paul Walker, already in his 30s at the time, wouldn't fit alongside a high school storyline anymore. That call seemed risky then, and honestly it looks even more questionable now. Especially when you realize they replaced him with 23-year-old Lucas Black playing a teenager, which didn't exactly solve the age gap problem they were worried about. Still, Walker stepping out opened the door for new characters like Han and Sean, and that move ended up shaping the future of the entire franchise. Sometimes being pushed out ends up working in your favor, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. It forced the story to grow in a whole new direction, and that unpredictability is part of what kept the series alive. Now this next one sounds like pure street racing chaos, but most of it wasn't even real. The Shibuya crossing drift scene looks completely authentic, like the cars were actually tearing through Tokyo traffic, but in reality, a lot of that was built and created in post-production. After the crew got kicked out for filming without permission, they had to get creative. They recreated the famous intersection on a parking lot in Los Angeles, then blended it with real footage of Shibuya using advanced visual effects to make everything look seamless. The film ended up with 768 visual effects shots, which is more than 5 times what the first Fast and Furious movie had. VFX teams used LiDAR scanning to map out both the cars and Tokyo locations in 3D, and high dynamic range imaging captured real lighting and reflections, making the CGI blend in almost perfectly. What looks like real Tokyo chaos is actually a mix of smart filming, tech, and a whole lot of careful planning. Most people watching Tokyo Drift don't even realize they're seeing a digital version of Tokyo for a lot of those big scenes. What looks real is often a mix of practical footage and heavy visual effects working together behind the scenes. Now this next part gets serious. When Justin Lin first read the original Tokyo Drift script, he almost walked away from the project completely. The early version was packed with what he called outdated and offensive stereotypes, including overused temple imagery, Buddha references, and jokes that didn't land and felt out of place. Instead of accepting it, Lin pushed back hard and told Universal the script needed major changes. Surprisingly, the studio gave him the freedom to rewrite things and make it right. He took out the stereotypes and focused on building real, grounded Asian characters instead of one-dimensional portrayals. That's also why Sung Kang was brought in as Han, because Lin wanted someone who could carry the role as a smooth, confident presence in a major Hollywood film. That decision helped shift the tone completely. Lin's push for authenticity turned what could have been a major misstep into a film that actually respects and highlights Japanese car culture in a genuine way, not just surface-level references. Now here's something tied to that same attention to detail, but with a darker edge. Han's Nissan Silvia S15, nicknamed the Mona Lisa, is described in the film as the most beautiful drift car ever built, but that beauty came at a cost. The Silvia that Sean destroys during his first race wasn't just a prop, it was a real Japanese import. Equipped with a transplanted RB26 engine, seeing it get wrecked on screen hits harder when you know what went into building it. Multiple versions of these cars were built just for filming, and watching them get destroyed hit hard for the crew who spent weeks getting every detail right. The C West body kit, the Go D door mirrors, and that custom paint job weren't just random add-ons. They were the result of months of careful, hands-on work. Even the mufflers were specially built to handle mid-range torque, tuned to match the engine's performance perfectly. Bottom end to mid torque. That balance mattered, because when Sean crashes into the parking garage pillars, the production wasn't just faking it, they were actually destroying real cars worth tens of thousands of dollars. Every impact carried weight, and you can feel that loss on screen. The scene hits so hard because it's not just about metal getting wrecked, it's about the effort behind those builds being wiped out. In seconds, that emotional punch comes from knowing how much work went into every car before it met that brutal end. Now here's something wild about the movie's future. Tokyo Drift almost didn't even make it to theaters at all. Without Vin Diesel or Paul Walker, and with a mostly unknown cast, Universal seriously considered releasing it straight to DVD. After the mixed reaction to Too Fast, Too Furious, it looked like the franchise might be finished for good. But then something unexpected happened. A series of surprisingly strong test screenings started to shift the studio's mindset, showing there was still real interest in the story. That response ended up saving the film from being buried and gave it a shot on the big screen instead, turning what could have been a forgotten release into a cult classic. Audiences actually loved the drifting scenes and Han's character way more than the studio expected. That reaction was strong enough to convince Universal to give Tokyo Drift a real theatrical release instead of sending it straight to DVD, but they still kept a tight grip on the budget, setting it around $85 million, trying to limit the risk. Even with that push, the film only brought in about $159 million worldwide, making it the lowest grossing entry in the franchise at the time. On paper, that sounds like a setback, but over time, people started to see it differently. Years later, fans began calling it the hidden piece that quietly set everything in motion for what came next. Now this next one hits both music and culture at the same time. The Teriyaki Boys track wasn't just catchy by accident, it was crafted by none other than Pharrell Williams. Yes, Pharrell co-wrote and produced the song alongside the Japanese hip-hop group Teriyaki Boys, and he intentionally built the beat to match the fast-paced energy of Tokyo's street racing scene. The song blew up instantly and became a cultural moment, introducing a lot of Western listeners to Japanese hip-hop, while also turning into a meme that's still going strong nearly 20 years later. The lyrics mix English and Japanese, which mirrors Sean's experience as an outsider trying to find his place in a new world. Pharrell made sure the sound felt authentic to Tokyo while still being something global audiences could connect with, and that balance is exactly why the track became so iconic. Before we wrap this part up, drop a comment and share which facts surprised you the most. People don't usually expect this much going on behind the scenes. Now here's a twist that changed how fans saw Han completely. His death in Tokyo Drift was never meant to be permanent. When his RX-7 explodes during that chase, most viewers thought that was the end of his story for good. Justin Lin had a plan all along. He didn't write Han's death as a final goodbye, he made it feel open, leaving just enough space for a comeback. That choice wasn't random, it was a deliberate move, and it ended up paying off big time. The films that came after Tokyo Drift weren't just sequels, they were actually set earlier in the timeline before Han's death ever happened. That's how Han was able to return in Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6, even though fans thought he was gone for good. Then things took a serious turn when audiences launched the Justice for Han campaign, pushing for answers and demanding the franchise address what really happened. That movement got loud enough that the creators couldn't ignore it. Justin Lin responded in a big way. In F9, it was revealed that Han didn't die at all. He faked his death with help from Mr. Nobody. That twist brought him back into the story and completely flipped what fans thought they knew. For years, Han had been hiding in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to return, and Lin was quietly setting that up the entire time. It turned into one of the longest running payoffs in the franchise, showing just how far ahead he was. Now here's a final detail that ties everything together. Tokyo Drift as a whole only exists because of a major rejection, a $25 million one that changed the entire direction of the franchise. Here's the fact that flips everything on its head. Tokyo Drift only exists because Vin Diesel turned down a massive $25 million offer to star in Too Fast, Too Furious. Yeah, Universal was ready to bring him back with a huge paycheck, but he walked away from it. At the time, Diesel felt sequels didn't align with where he wanted his career to go. He was focused on passion projects like the Chronicles of Riddick, trying to build something different for himself. So Universal moved forward without him, but when Too Fast, Too Furious didn't perform as expected, the studio was left scrambling to save the franchise. That pressure led to a bold move. They greenlit Tokyo Drift with a completely new direction. They brought in Justin Lin, who didn't have big blockbuster experience yet, and surrounded him with relatively unknown actors. They also shifted the entire story to Japan, giving the series a fresh identity that felt completely different from what came before. That decision ended up laying the groundwork for one of the biggest franchises in cinema history. If Diesel had accepted that $25 million deal, the entire timeline could look completely different. No Tokyo Drift, no Han, and possibly no drifting culture explosion in film at all. Sometimes saying no creates space for something even bigger to take shape. What was once supposed to be the end of the road turned into the starting line for something much larger. A film that originally struggled at the box office didn't fade away. It grew into a cult favorite, loved by both car enthusiasts and casual viewers who kept it alive over time. It didn't just put drifting on the map, it pushed it straight into the spotlight. gave us Han, one of the most iconic characters in the entire franchise, and proved the fast. And Furious World could keep going even without its original stars in Tokyo Drift. The role I played in the film leans more toward a mentor guiding Sean, adding another layer to the story that fans still talk about. That kind of impact doesn't fade, it sticks with you. Now here's the challenge: if you made it this far, you're already part of something bigger. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment saying Drift King so we know you're really part of the family. Share this with someone who still loves the Tokyo Drift era, and don't miss our deep dive into the Fast and the Furious 2001 right here on the channel. It's packed with facts that will change how you see the whole franchise, so tell us, which moment from Tokyo Drift still hits the hardest for you? Which character deserved way more screen time? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. Until next time, stay sharp and keep drifting.